Hey, a friend, Chris here from WideLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. It's been a while. I apologize. I needed to take a moment, take a step back, just recenter, recalibrate. I mean, it's been 6 years of posting tutorials, and I just kind of was thinking, where am I going? We hit 100,000 subscribers here on the channel this year. And it's just like, where is this whole thing going? What am I trying to achieve? So, with all that being thought about and out of the way, let's dig into how awesome the step sequencer and pattern regions can be for writing automation for your various tracks in your projects. I think a lot of folks look at the step sequencer and just think to themselves, it's for beat makers. It's not for me, which is the furthest thing from the truth. I mean, you can write melodic parts using the step sequencer. It's not just for writing beats, but also, as I pointed out, you can write automation for any track type, whether it's a software instrument track or an audio track. So let me show you how to do that right now. On screen, I have a riff that I've been playing around with and putting together using the brand new Sample Alchemy instrument and Beatbreaker and just these amazing tools that have been added with 10.8. And what I want to show you is if we take a listen to this intro section into presumably a chorus or just, a bigger moment, right between bars 5 and 6, I have a clap. It's clap 2 of the modern TR-707 Drum Machine Designer kit. And it has that classic filter sweep effect where a low pass filter is increasing. It's going from low to high and just adding a cool little thing to these claps. So let's take a listen from bar 2 through this transition of bar 6. Right, I think that's pretty fun. It gives a little sense of something is about to happen. Let's really hone in on this drum performance. I'm going to use Control and S on my Mac's keyboard to solo the regions on this track lane. And as you can see, the solo button right here enables or disables this option. And this is on a per region basis. So let's take a quick listen to that transition again, and then we'll dig in. I think that's super cool. Now, we could write automation using the step sequencer right on the track lane for the entire drum performance, but I wanted to ensure that any filter sweep was specifically applied to just the clap of this drum kit. So how I did that is I opened the Drum Machine Designer track stack, and I applied my automation specifically to the track lane and channel strip for clap 2. And if we open the step sequencer, I'm just going to press E on my Mac's keyboard to open any editor in Logic Pro. And if we just kind of move stuff around and zoom out, look at that. You can see a high cut frequency is being automated specifically in the last 4 steps of this row. That's a really cool thing about Drum Machine Designer and track stacks is that you can apply performances not only on the track stack level for the entire kit, but you can also apply it on an individual instrument level as well. Quick detour, but let's create a new pattern region for this tom high track, and I'm just going to apply some random notes here. And if we take a listen and a look, cool, so I really love that fact about track stacks. But going back to our clap here and our automation, if we open the channel EQ that's living on the channel strip for our clap here, just watch this filter as it sweeps up. That's pretty sick. Now let's recreate this scenario right now. So I'm going to actually delete this row by right-clicking on the row header and then selecting delete from the drop-down menu. All right, so now we have no automation using the channel EQ, but we can introduce automation for any parameter, for any plugin, for any instrument, for the channel strip itself, just by going to this plus drop-down menu right here. And when we click, we can add either notes that are not included in the step sequencer currently. So we can see that the root key of C3 is available to us to program within the step sequencer, but we can add other notes across the scale, as well as automation for different parameters. But what I like to do is, instead of digging through all these different menus for the exact parameter or key that I want to use, instead I like to use the option to learn by adding whatever it is that I press on my controller or select within the channel strip. Once selected, this drop-down menu changes from a plus to the word learn, the button turns red, and now anything we select in our channel strip in a plugin will be introduced to the step sequencer. So I'm going to select the frequency for my low pass filter. All right, look at that. So now this frequency of the low pass filter has been introduced as a row in the step sequencer. Just make sure to disable the learn button when you're done selecting parameters. So as you can see, we have all these different steps, 16 in total, based on the grid resolution. So we have 16 steps, and the performance is based on a 16th note value, as noted here in the row. And what I like to do is introduce a step for each and every one of these 16 steps, even though we only really have 4 hits that are occurring in the performance. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 in total. There's 2 for this beat right here. I like to turn on the low pass filter for this entire region. All right, so now we have told Logic Pro, hey, we want something to occur for the high cut filter on every beat of this region. Now, nothing will occur quite yet until we select the velocity value tab here to tell Logic what exactly we want to occur on each one of these 16 steps. And again, we're looking at the last 4 steps here. So that's what we're going to automate. So as you can see, we can see the frequency value on a per step basis. And for these last 4 here, let's make an adjustment. I'm just going to click, hold, and drag on the value to either increase or decrease the frequency. And I'm just going to slide it up. All right, so now if we take a listen and a look. Brilliant. We've now automated the low pass filter for the claps. One other thing to take note of is if we click on this inspector button, which is an eye inside a circle, right at the bottom, you have the option to adjust the automation mode for the pattern or the row itself. And you can choose either between latch or slide. If we set the automation mode to latch, watch what happens in the channel EQ. The automation occurs in a very stepped or staggered sort of fashion. Whereas if we set automation mode to slide, instead Logic slides through the values instead of stepping through the values. All right, so this is all well and good. It's so obvious to apply pattern regions to software instrument tracks because they go hand in hand, right? What if you want to apply this sort of automation using the step sequencer to audio track types? Well, obviously I don't have an audio track in my project yet, but I'll bounce one of these audio tracks in place and then show you how we can accomplish this for audio tracks as well. So I'm going to press Control, Command, and B on my Mac's keyboard to open up the Bounce Track in Place dialog, which can also be found under File and Bounce. So I'll bounce this software instrument track in place, but I'll be sure to bypass the effect plugins in case I want to make an adjustment to the effects after I've bounced it. That way the audio effects are not baked into the audio file and are available to adjust as needed. Let's click OK. All right, so we have a new audio track here, a new audio region. For the entire piano performance, let's take a quick listen to how this piano sounds. All right, pretty cool. We have a chorus plugin, a ring shifter, a tape delay. We've got all sorts of things that we can apply automation to if we want. We just need a way to use a pattern region with this audio region track. The way to do this is to go up to the top, right under the track menu. There's a section called Other, and right under the Other subcategory, we have this option to introduce a new track using the same channel that's selected in our project. So if we select this option, we introduce what looks like a third Rusty Piano track, and we do. We have the original Rusty Piano source track using the sampler instrument and patch. Then we have our Bounce in Place. And then we have this third track lane that has nothing living on it. And if we open the mixer, you should see that instead of having 3 channel strips, we only have 2. And that's because this third track lane is actually associated with the exact same channel strip that's associated with this track lane. 2 tracks for 1 channel strip. So from here, we can now right-click or hold Control and click to create a pattern region on our brand new track lane. As you can see here, I'm going to extend the boundary for this region to encompass the entire piano performance here. And now I want to automate the pan knob for this piano performance so we can see it pan from left to right. To do that, let's once again click on the plus drop-down menu and let's select the option to learn by adding a parameter. All right, so we're ready to add. I'm just going to click on the pan control. And now we have a pan row in the step sequencer. Let's disable the learn functionality. Let's now adjust the panning for every one of these beats. All right, so I've told Logic, hey, I want you to adjust the panning for every one of these 16 beats. And because pattern regions extend infinitely as far as you drag them, this will be applied across the entire performance. However, we haven't told Logic where the panning should occur. So if we listen and watch this performance, just watch the pan knob. Nothing will happen. So I still need to tell Logic where I want the pan knob to go. I'm going to right-click and set this to stereo pan so we can get a true panning effect for our stereo track. And now let's click on the Velocity and Value tab. I'll press Ctrl and Z to zoom in on this row in the step sequencer. And look at that, we can now pan anywhere between all the way to the left or all the way to the right or anywhere in between. So let's set this to just hard pan, left to right, back and forth. And let's take a listen and a look. Right, so the pan knob is jumping back and forth, left to right, left to right. And once again, it's doing this on a very staggered or step sort of pattern because the automation mode for the row of pan is set to latch. So let's set this now to slide and take a listen and a look. Much smoother, and we can adjust how many steps this occurs. So maybe on a quarter note basis instead of a 16th note basis. And of course, you don't have to do this on every single note of the performance. It doesn't have to be for every one. It could be any which one you prefer. Or if we can hear it faster. I really like randomizing automation values. So if we bring back our other steps, I just right-clicked on the row header, which shows you the option to randomize whichever one of these tabs you have selected. Pretty awesome. So with that, we've applied this pattern style of automation to our audio track type. We didn't have to dig into the automation within the tracks view here and then use the marquee tool or use the pencil tool and have to make granular edits to the performance. And as you can see, these are being applied to both track lanes because again, both of these tracks are associated with one channel strip. And these adjustments to the fader are the fader of one channel strip. So I find this a very handy way of writing automation. Just to really reinforce the idea, let's do it quickly one more time for a software instrument track, maybe something that sustains quite a bit. So perhaps this dark and distant option here. I'll use Control and S to set the solo to the regions. All right, so once again, we're going to select the track that we want to introduce a whole new track for, but associate it with the same exact channel strip. Let's go up to the top, go to track, down to other, But unlike with audio tracks, where we see an option for a new track with the same channel, with software instrument track types, you see an option for a new track with the same instrument. Right. So we now have a second track that's associated once again with one channel strip, the dark and distant channel strip, as noted here in the mixer. All right, in this case, let's perhaps introduce a pattern region, extend it for the duration of this performance. We can even loop it if we want, which is pretty cool. I'm going to automate the depth control of this tremolo plugin. So I'm going to click on the drop down with the plus symbol, learn by adding, click depth. We can see that depth has been introduced. Let's disable this option. And just to make things easy to listen to and see, I'll select every one of these steps for 16 steps. And I'll set the velocity or value. And let's quickly randomize the automation value. All right, let's take a listen and a look. I gotta say, the step sequencer is freaking awesome. And I really feel everybody should really get to know this amazing feature in Logic Pro. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, as always, please subscribe to Why Logic Pro Rules. Also, right in the description below this video, there's a link where you can download templates for mixing, for mastering, and guides that will help you get acclimated to some of Logic's most amazing features so you can just get right into creating it and less weighed down by just the technical details of the application. All right, I'll talk to you later. Take care.